Good morning. I am Miss LaShawna Porter, and today I will be telling you all about clocks. I will be focusing mainly on the scenario that a child is having difficulty identifying quarter past and half past using an analog clock. So let's get right into the lesson. With the strategies that I will assist a child that is having difficulty with identifying half past and quarter past on an analog clock, the teacher will have to use visual aids and manipulate it to help that child to get through with the lesson. I will be demonstrating to you how I will be using these visual aids to teach the student or the child how to identify quarter past and half past on a clock. So, we first must be able to identify the parts of a clock. So let's identify the parts of a clock. This is an analog clock. This consists of three main parts, which include the face of the clock. This is the part of the clock that has the number, and it starts from number 1 straight up to 12. Then we have our minute hand and our hour hand. And we must also know that the minute hand is always longer than the hour hand. Now that we know the parts of a clock, we can now go on to learning how to read a clock. When both hands on the clock are facing the number 12, we usually say it is 12 o'clock. When both hands are facing the number 12, we usually say that it is 12 o'clock. This here, whenever the hour hands remain at 12, we call it o'clock. So it doesn't matter which number it points to, it remains o'clock. So let us go again. If the minute hand points to 1 and the hour hand remain at 12, we usually say it is 1 o'clock. If the minute hand points to 3 and the hour hand stays at 12, we usually say it is 3 o'clock. So it doesn't matter which number it points to, it always remains as o'clock because the hour hand keeps pointing to the number 12. So 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. Right. So it therefore means that half an hour would be half of 60, which is 30. So half an hour is equal to 30 minutes. So what we're going to do at this time, we're going to take our minute hand and we're going to move it halfway around our clock. So we're going to move our minute hand halfway around our clock, and our minute hand is going to therefore stop at the number 6. While our minute hand is moving, our hand will also move. Our hour hand would usually move in a clockwise direction. And whenever the minute hand stops at 6, the hour hand would usually stop in the middle of 12 and 1. So the number that the hour hand passes, we usually read the time like this. We say it is 12:30. What if we take the hour hand and we put it in the middle of 2 and 3? How do we read this? We read this as it is 2:30. The reason why we read it like that is because it is halfway past the hour, which is 2 o'clock. What about if we take our hour hand and we put it in between 4 and 5? We usually read the time the same way. We say that it is 4:30. That is how we read the clock. So now that I would have taught my students how we move the minute hand and the hour hand to demonstrate half past the hour on an analog clock, each child will be given their individual model of an analog clock with movable hands that will help them to also demonstrate how we find half past on their clock. For example, the clock that I have here is showing 4:30, and they will be given different times to demonstrate half past using their mini version of the clock. I have enough here for my entire class to use. So let's move on to reading quarter past the hour on an analog clock. So now let's focus our attention on quarter past. We can see that our clock is divided into 4 equal parts. Each part is called a quarter. To identify a quarter on the clock, our minute hand usually stays or usually goes at the number 3. And 1/4 of an hour is equal to 15 minutes. So to move from 12, for the minute hand to move from 12 to 3, it takes 15 minutes. So now that we learned that when it is a quarter of an hour, which is 15 minutes, the minute hand is pointing to 3, let's move the minute hand to the next quarter of our clock. So the minute hand is now at the number 6, which is at half. So we continue to read our time. If the hour hand is between 12 and 1, we continue to read the time as 12:30. So let's take our minute hand to our next quarter, which in turn would be at the 9, and this 9 represents 45 minutes. So what if we take our hour hand and we put it to the number 7? We would read this here, or we would read the time as it is 7:45. We would read the time as 7:45. What if our hand goes to 10, between 10 and 11, and it's a little closer to 11, we know how it would go wrong. We would read the time as 10:45 because the minute hand is pointing to 9. So now that we've learned all about clocks and how to identify the half past and the quarter past on an analog clock, each student will be given a scenario in which they will have to use their mini clocks to show the movement on the hands, the time that they were given on the scenario card. So these are the scenario. The first one says school starts at 8:15. So the student will have to use their analog clock to demonstrate 8:15. The second one, lunch finishes at 12:30. Lunch finishes at 12:30. They will also have to use them. So these are the scenarios that they will be using, and also the example or the model of the analog clocks that they will be using to demonstrate these. Thank you.